Welcome back to the reading of Earth Chronicles, Book 2, The Blue Woman by H.G. Shuler on YouTube Audiobooks. Chapter 10, Childhood Trauma and Helpful Research. It was the springtime of her life, and 9-year-old Nova had already resigned all conscious attempts at recalling the past. She thought she could do it to simply stop remembering. However, she soon found out it's not possible to successfully forget, as if there were an art to it. She would suffer from the hands of her own mother for 3 more years before her subconscious took control and did something extraordinary. The term later became known as repressed memories. Due to the nature of this psychological phenomenon, when she grew into an adult, she was unable to remember past the age of 12. Now, fully grown in her late 20s and living what is essentially her second life, her computerized brain is giving her a lesson in remembrance. It reclaims the repressed memories, placing them back into her consciousness 10,000 times faster than normal. She now has a complete understanding of how her whole life has played out. Her brain also plows through all research available on the subject of memories, normal or otherwise. As usual, all the details of the research stream at a rocket's pace, complete with diagrams and finishing in under 10 seconds. Even so, she has total recognition, identifying information pertinent to her specific condition. Unlike other humans, she needs very little time to analyze and complete an evaluation. Afterwards, she forces herself to slow down, meditating on the evaluation. She begins drawing up a synopsis of how her brain nurtured her through years of what she now clearly sees as child cruelty. She finds it all fascinating, slowly mulling it over. It was once thought that the brain recorded memories like a camera. With further research, memory is now better thought of as an activity rather than being associated with a specific part of the brain. Amazingly, involuntary, automatic functions deconstruct any given memory and distributes it to different parts of the brain. Later, for the memory to be recalled, it gets reconstructed from the individual fragments. All of this coordination taking place without the person's awareness. Results of this complicated process is that it's all there, everything, events, places, people. Nothing is lost. In their individuality, all memories demand their place in time. So, they stamp themselves into a child's various memory receptors, like locations being stamped onto various parts of a map. These memories are the very essence of a person. Their aim is to be perpetual, to be repeated endlessly when called upon. They only exist through continuous recollection, aiming to guide the child into what kind of adult they will become. Good or happy memories have equal footing with bad, even horrific ones. With this information now in tow, Nova can see specific reasons for her relationship problems with her ex-husband. With years of abuse and repressed memories, she was stunted emotionally. Under trying situations, her actions would resemble a child more than the mature wife that was needed. The results were that she often treated her husband more like a child than a grown man. She continues peering into the research information, hoping to draw more conclusions. She sees that the brain is essentially 2 people living inside the same space. One is the conscious, waking, interactive life. The other is the private, hidden, subconscious. Under extreme circumstances, the subconscious appears to have veto power and decision-making authority over the waking conscious. People have been known to have done things without intention, and that they can't explain. Sometimes the decisions made by the subconscious are less noticeable to the eye. This is the case where memories are involved, which again has Nova fascinated. When extraordinary circumstances are in play, it's these that impel the subconscious to interfere, taking control. The reason for this action is to keep the personality of the child liberated, safe for a future time. So, the subconscious will move the disturbing memory fragments, as if placing them behind a curtain, unable to be seen or accessed by the child. When the child is all grown up and in a safer environment, fragments of the memories behind the curtain are let out in small increments. then reconstructed as whole events. Of course, in Nova's case, her uniquely qualified computer mind went through this process nearly instantaneously. This process of hidden memories being recalled normally takes anywhere from a few to many years to complete. As with Nova, in the end, the subconscious gives the memories back, allowing a more stable adult to see the complete picture of their childhood. In theory, the adult, with much less astonishment, can better deal with the disturbing events, whereas the child would have otherwise been rendered mentally incapacitated, possibly unable to carry on everyday affairs of life. Nova knows she's been the victim of child cruelty, has complete recollection, but is struggling to know what to do with it. She begins revisiting her long-ago childhood, hoping it will bring a resolution, maybe a sort of truce between her present life and her past one. She begins visiting the place her personality flaws were first planted, eventually becoming the enduring reality of her life. Suddenly, she feels pressure, an enormous pressure on the back of her neck. 9-year-old Nova sits naked in a nearly full bathtub of water, her mother's hands stretched around the back of her neck, pressing hard. The more she presses, the more Nova combats her. She's braced, so braced that her neck's becoming numb. She's holding her position because she's petrified that she might drown. For a few seconds, her mother lets up, twisting Nova's face around and inadvertently sloshing water from the tub to the floor. The two foes are now eye to eye, separated by only a few inches. Her mother whispers slowly and audibly while squeezing and contorting Nova's face with her other hand. "Put your head under the water. Stop fighting me and do it." Nova remains silent, focusing all her energy on keeping her neck stiff and remaining upright. Peering into her mother's glaring look, Nova's face has the wild look of fright, like blood will come bursting out of her eyes at any second. "Don't you understand, child? Your sins need washing." A look of disgust comes over her mother's face. She intensifies her efforts, pressing with the incredible force of a person 3 times her size. Nova's head droops, then dips downward a little. After a couple seconds, it dips down a little more, then more until finally her face is touching the water. An enormous jolt from her mother's hand suddenly sends her whole head under. 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Her arms are twitching, flinging water every direction. She is so scared a steady, tingling sensation starts up on the surface of her skin. It's characterized by the mysterious feel of static electricity. Progressively, this sensation moves outward to her extremities. 40 seconds, 50 seconds, 60 seconds. The longer her mother holds her under the water, the heavier the sensation becomes. Gradually, the tingling increases, developing into a vibration. 70 seconds, 80 seconds, 90 seconds. She is nearing the end of her breath, desperately trying to hold on, the vibration now intensifying, buzzing loudly in her ears. 100 seconds, 110 seconds, 120 seconds. Her hands are now pressing the sides of the tub as she furiously concentrates on holding her breath. 130 seconds, 140 seconds, 150 seconds, just as she panics, hitting her absolute limit and sucking in water. Her mother yanks her head up. Her wet hair slings backwards and her nostrils are spewing out water. As she gasps for air, the vibration has exploded into fright, resulting in a tremendous, uncontrollable shaking of her body. She has entered the convulsion and shock stage. Her mother's first impulse is to yank her out of the water and hold her tight in her arms. "There, then now, child. You're going to be fine." She walks with her out of the bathroom into Nova's bedroom. "We have to keep up with your sins." She lays her on the bed. "You have to try harder, though. You tell lies, and you have a bad tendency to eat candy when you know you've been forbidden. Candy is from the devil. It's a child's temptation. How many times do I have to tell you that God doesn't like it when kids eat candy? We washed you, though, saved your life." After about 10 minutes, Nova lies calmly on the bed. She's still nude and wet, the panic having run its course. Her mother, Rena, is sitting next to her in a rocking chair, busy working with her knitting. Why don't you love me anymore, Nene? For about 3 months, she has been experiencing cruel, strange treatment from her mother. I do love you, dear, and I just proved it by washing your sins away. Nova turns over on her side, propping her face with her hand and directly facing her mother. But Nene, you never used to be mean. Renee hesitates, looking up from her knitting. It's called tough love, dear. Haven't you heard? It's all the rage among parents. When kids are sinners, like you, they need tough love. I think you need a doctor, Nene. Renee snatches Nova by the cheek, twisting and squeezing hard. Don't you start with me. You're hurting me. She yanked her hand back. I'm just trying to save you. God's not happy with you. I wouldn't for the world touch you otherwise. Why, Nene? What did I do? Your daddy left because of you. No, Nene. He said it was that superiority thing you like to do. Your teacher told me as much the same. Said you're the smartest student she ever taught. Said your IQ was the highest the school ever recorded. You use it too, like it's some kind of power, like you don't need us, like you're not dependent on anyone. So, you took up with another woman. It was you. That's what he said. He called a few days ago. He's never coming back. It's all settled. Said he's happy now. I'll have to fight my way out of this difficulty alone. You're a lucky one to have me. I could have sold you to one of those drug dealers down the street. Still could too. They like young girls. Nova rolls back over onto her back, deciding to pay no heed to what her mother was saying. Even at 9 years of age, she could see signs of mental instability, her eyes especially a dead giveaway. While her mother continued to talk, Nova was only hearing fragments of sentences and quotations. Soon she wasn't making any of her words out. Her voice just seemed as rolling music, putting her to sleep. Then suddenly the voice was gone, and she was waking up an hour or so later. She hears some rattling around in the kitchen and a door opening and closing, so she jumps out of bed. Inside the kitchen, there is no one, so she opens the door to the outside. Her mother is driving off with a man. She recognizes the car. It's the drug dealer's car. Turning around, she walks to the den, where she turns on the TV, then notices a large black dog. She had seen it before, down the street at the drug dealer's house. It had been laying in front of the sofa, possibly sleeping. It starts a low growl that can barely be heard. Nova reaches out her hand. It's okay, boy, you're safe. I won't hurt you. At this point, she realizes that she's still nude. The dog growls a little louder, showing his teeth. She's getting nervous and decides to go back to her room and shut the door. When she turns to go, the dog lunges at her. He doesn't bite her, but instead is barking violently, saliva dripping from his mouth. Out of fear, Nova stumbles backwards, falling across the brick fireplace hearth. Instantly, the fireplace poker crashes down from its holder, hitting her and leaving a cut along her forehead. Blood starts dripping into her eye, blurring her vision. Just as she grabs the fireplace poker, the vicious dog lunges again, biting her on the kneecap. In a move that is partly instinct and partly out of distress, Nova rolls to one side while swinging the metal fireplace poker. She catches the dog squarely on the head, knocking him backwards. Before he can recover, she swings again, hitting him in almost the same spot. While he yelps in pain, Nova runs toward her bedroom. But before she can make it, the dog catches her, biting her on the thigh. She screams in pain, swings the fireplace poker like a madman, hitting the dog and sending blood shooting from his face. Then she slips inside her room, quickly slamming the door shut. It was 3 days later before her mother came home. Nova had been trapped in her room, bleeding and starving. Renee and her new boyfriend were furious about the dog being injured. The sofa and carpet were strewn with splattered blood, and Nova's room wasn't much better. For a moment, the three of them look at each other in silence. Then, the drug dealer puts his foot across the threshold of Nova's door. He reaches back his hand. That ain't your dog, little girl. I should slap you down right now. She throws up her arm, pointing behind him. You go right back where you came from. She spoke in such a shrill voice that it startled him. You don't have a key, and this ain't your house. She wasn't frightened by the man the way she was the dog. She simply had a deep disgust, and it seemed he read it on her face. He crept closer to her. "Why, you little know-it-all. No wonder your daddy walked out." "Yes, that's it, Jimmy. She's smarter than everyone else. Likes to flaunt it, too." Renee pushes past Jimmy right in front of Nova. "Child, you got housework to do. You're cleaning the mess up you've made. But first go run water in the tub. I'm giving you a bath." Nova shifts her weight uneasily from one foot to the other while crossing her arms. She looks in disgust at her mother's merciless stare. Since the day her father had walked out, their relationship had changed. Glancing downward, she notices needle marks on the hands that a few days ago had been pressing against the back of her neck. She shakes her head, looking back up into that same stare. "How long is it since you looked at yourself in the mirror?" Renee's head jerks back. "Mirror? What are you talking about? Never mind. I want you to get that dog out of this house. The dog's in the car, and that'll about do. What's come over you anyway?" "I'm hungry, and I need driven to the hospital." "Hospital? Do you even know the cost involved? I suppose you think money grows on trees. Go run the bath like I told you. All you need is a little cleaning up." Nova stood there, unyielding, her jaw trembling, conscious of her mother's needle-ridden hands and arms. She knew what had happened on that hateful day her father had walked out. She understood, profoundly, that her mother had been sleeping around on him, and that it had been going on for as long as she could remember. Her father had never spoken a word about it. It was just accepted that this is the way she was. Never a word, until that day, when every exchange, every glance, instinctively turned to hate. Nothing would ever be the same again. "Child, are you going to do as I say? Or am I going to have to make you?" "Whip her butt." "Renee," Jimmy blurts out. "She's been asking for it." Renee swings wildly, slapping Nova across the face. Next, she grabs her by the arms, shoving her backwards and watches as she lands hard on her butt. The back of her head slams into the bedroom wall. It was no use. There was nothing to be done with Nova's will. Her body was weak and shriveled up due to her hunger and injuries, but her resolve was never stronger. She points her finger up from her fallen position. "And I want that drug dealer out of this house." She was determined not to show the slightest sign of fear. Her intention was simply to make them leave her room. "That's it," Renee screamed, thrusting her leg forward as if she were kicking a ball. Nova was caught under the chin by her mother's shoe, again slamming her head backwards into the wall. She is quiet now, and drooped to one side, her tongue bulging out like she's been hanged. "Is she dead?" Jimmy asked with a satisfied smirk. Anxiously, Renee falls to her knees, checking Nova's pulse. "No." She spins around on her knees in a corkscrew fashion, facing Jimmy. "Sometimes she makes me so mad I just lose it." For Nova, light has instantly turned to darkness. A sharp pain throbs around her face and head. The blow has given her brain false sensory perceptions. Up ahead, she can see the faint figure of a person standing within the confines of a dull light. The figure is moving nearer to her. As it moves, it changes into a lamb, and then back into a human. "Maybe I'm dead," she thinks to herself, still looking at the strange phenomenon. "Maybe I've died from exposure to my wounds, or maybe from hunger." She feels herself sliding slowly toward the light. The figure continues changing from human form to that of a lamb. Now the figure is only 20 or so feet away. It appears extraordinarily frail and weak. It's reaching out to her, compelling her to take something from its hand. It's only perhaps 10 feet away. She moves her hand toward the figure and watches as it turns into a lamb. Only now the lamb is bound around the feet with a rope, crying and struggling to free itself. Wanting to help, Nova steps forward, but the lamb changes back into a human and lunges upwards, jamming a sharp metal object in her shoulder. Her head is still dizzy with pain as strange fluids pass into her bloodstream. Her eyes dilate, and her hair distends straight up as if injected with electricity. Her brain, due to the trauma, had spontaneously sent her into mind-bending, unconscious hallucinations. This is similar to a person being rendered unconscious and oxygen deprived. She could feel, smell, and hear what was taking place, seeing what was convincingly real. The delicate and complex regulations of the brain had been interfered with. In effect, it was feeding her false stimulus randomly plucked from her imaginative perceptions. This was quite different from the normal unconscious state of dreaming. These colorized visuals were psychotic symptoms caused by the blunt trauma. When Nova wakes up, she is alone in the room. She lifts herself from her awkward position, the upward part of her body having been drooped heavily to one side. She had to give her absolute best effort to stand up. She makes a conscious effort to reconstruct what had happened to her. A mishap, she thought. I must have fallen. As hard as she tries, she can't remember any of the events of the last few days. You have reached the end of Chapter 10 of The Blue Woman. Please return to audiobooks by H.G. Shuler on YouTube to hear the rest of Earth Chronicles, Book 2.